have brownies by now. Do you have any available?
Wow.
Kathy has some virtual brownies.
Yeah, nice.
Ask you out.
Chris and I had to go to our first town department head meeting earlier, and Kevin told us that the new people have to provide a buffet for meetings, so we'll get that coming down the pipeline.
Welcome back, Maria.
We'll keep the leftovers.
Jackie.
You can have that.
Okay, we still don't have a quorum, so I don't think we need to
Here's
go live.
Mike. Yeah.
Okay, Mike joined. I saw Pat Collins real quick. So we have a quorum. We have Maria and Michael. I haven't seen Kelly dial in yet. And I haven't seen Tony yet. Okay, I'm gonna say we'll go ahead and start. Okay, we've got a quorum. I'll just move. One of the first things we have is election of officers, and I'd rather prefer to have all 5 there. So I think we can go roll on the other ones. So, anyways, so as a start, I'm going to call the meeting to order for Monday, 21 September 2020 at actually 7:01 p.m. Confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Robert Holland, the Shrewsbury Electric Cable Operations SELCO Commission Chairperson. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tony Trippi. Nothing heard. Kelly Marshall.
I'm here.
Okay. Maria Lemieux.
Here.
Mike Ruffolo.
Here.
Okay, and I'm here, Bob Holland. So we have 4 of our 5, and just waiting for Tony to get online. It was confirmed that he will be on, so I'm not too worried about that one. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Christopher Roy, Selco General Manager.
Here.
Kathy Reba, Administrative Assistant.
Here.
Joelle Malabar, Manager of Cable Ops.
Here.
Jackie Pratt, Marketing Manager.
Here.
John Malabar, Systems Engineer.
Here.
John Laverty, Manager Electric Ops.
Here.
Ralph Iacarino, Electric Systems Manager.
Here.
Mike Quididamo, Finance.
Here.
And Greg Honorato. Chris, do you want to give a title to him?
Director of IT.
Congratulations, because I think that's a promotion, and that's the first public, I think, notification that that's happened. Greg, welcome into into that fold. I wish you all the best.
Thanks very much, and obviously I'm here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to make your first meeting. Okay. Introduction to the remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the SELCO Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. The order, which you will find posted on agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the SELCO Commission is convened by video conference via Google Meet, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware the other folks may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share your computer unless asked by the chairperson or the staff person. Anything that you can broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role for this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After we conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. I will then call upon members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute and unmute your phone by pressing *6 or mute your computer when not speaking, as to not trigger your camera feed or background noise. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. For any reason, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And finally, I'd like to thank Mark Serra and the SMC manager and his team for supporting us in this endeavor this evening. With that, I'd like to confirm that. Tony, welcome aboard.
Yeah, I'm not on my iPad, but I get on my phone anyway.
Well, that's great. Okay, so the first item on the agenda for folks that may be viewing a SELCO meeting for the first time, the first meeting that we hold in the new fiscal year, which this is the first meeting, this is in September, is that the first thing we do is have an election of officers. We have 3 officers that get voted on. There's a chairman, a vice chairman, and a clerk. So for the 5 board members, do we have a nomination? I'd like to get right into the election. Do we have a nomination for chairman?
I'd like to nominate Robert Holland as chairman.
Tony, okay.
Second
Do we have a
nomination.
Mike, yes, second. Is there anyone else who would like to make a nomination of anybody else? If not, then by roll call vote for the election of Robert Holland as the chairman, we'll go down the list of the board. Mike Ruffolo.
Yes.
Tony Trippi.
Yes.
Maria Lemieux.
Yes.
And Kelly Marshall.
Yes.
Okay. The next position is that of vice chairman. Do I have a motion to elect someone to be the vice chairman of the SELCO Commission? And seeing everybody shy, I think I'll make a nomination of Mike Ruffolo.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a nomination and a second for Mike Ruffolo. Are there any other nominations for the position of the vice chair? If not, roll call vote. Mike Ruffolo.
Yes.
Tony Trippi.
Yes.
Maria Lemieux.
Yes.
And Kelly Marshall.
Yes.
And Bob Holland, yes. And finally, for clerk, do we have a nomination for the clerk?
I nominate Tony Trippi for clerk.
And I'll second that nomination. Mike Ruffolo made the nomination. I will second it. Are there any other nominations for clerk? Not hearing any. The roll call vote for election of Tony Trippi as the clerk. Mike Ruffolo.
Yes.
Tony Trippi.
Yes.
Maria Lemieux.
Yes.
Kelly Marshall.
Yes.
And Bob Holland, yes. Okay. On to the next agenda item is review and consider warrants and bill schedules. There was a 138-page scan that was sent out to all board members to catch up from since basically June of the summer, and with the new requirements that many more things have to be reviewed for signature. Just as a background, we had Kelly Marshall had reached out to me and asked why would we all have to sign it? What couldn't you have a couple of folks just take a look at it normally instead of having us all vote on it? I verified with the town manager today that in all cases of warrants, there has to be a quorum vote to select those to approve those warrants. And in the past, we've just signed them. We've passed them around the table, and each of us has all signed them. I also got permission that because of the COVID, is that if we vote to approve all the warrants, by voice vote, that I would be the one that would go in and actually sign physically the warrants to limit the number of people going into the town hall. With that said, the board members, if you've had a chance to review the warrant and bill schedules, are there any questions? I'll do a roll call to verify if anybody's got any questions on the warrant. Mike Ruffolo.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look for the name, but I think it was Cathedral. Is that the correct name? There were a lot of charges to Cathedral. I just didn't recognize that over the past years. I'm trying to find it now.
That's Bill Print and Mail Company.
Okay, that's our mailing.
Jackie, what was that again?
They do the bill printing and mailing for us.
Okay, thank you.
Our vendor.
Thank you. Yeah, Cathedral Corporation. I didn't recognize their name.
Okay, Michael, any
Other
other
than that,
questions?
I had no questions.
Okay, Tony, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Maria?
I did have a question. Warrant 2118, at the bottom of page 7, there's a customer refund of over $25,000.
That particular,
Michael, you have an
yeah.
answer for that one? Okay.
yeah, I do. That particular customer, believe it or not, made an overpayment. Huge. I
Okay.
wish I could do that. But
Okay,
yeah,
that was just an oops. I was wondering if that was okay.
yeah, so that's why we kind of hustled to get it back to her.
Okay, great.
Okay, Maria, any other questions?
No.
Kelly, Marshall, any questions?
No, they covered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I have no questions on the warrant. Do I have a motion to accept the warrant as proposed?
So moved.
Michael?
Oh,
So moved.
I have to recuse on Myrick
Oh,
O'Connell.
no, I understand that. Yep. Do we have a second?
Second,
Tony? Okay. I'll do a roll call vote to approve the warrants. Michael, with the exception of the ones that the
Yeah.
firm is involved in?
Approved except recused as from Myrick O'Connell.
Very well. Tony?
accept.
Maria?
Yes, accept.
Kelly?
Yes, accept.
Okay, and Bob Holland, I accept. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes from June 24th of 2020. Those are included in the package. Are there any comments from the board members on those minutes? I'll start with Mike. Do you have any comments on the minutes?
No, I had no comments on the minutes.
Okay, Tony?
No,
Okay, Maria?
No comments.
Kelly?
No,
Okay, and I have no comments. So let's see, I'll just take a roll call vote for acceptance of the minutes as provided. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
yes,
And Bob Holland, yes. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is MMWEC, designated voting representatives. I'll turn this over to Christopher Roy.
All right, thank you very much. So this one is for really largely a housekeeping item. It comes up every year as a review of approved voting representatives on the MWIC business. And so in this particular instance, Mr. Hale is still listed as the primary voting designee. And with two alternates, Commissioner Ruffolo and Commissioner Lemieux. So really this line item would cover us to essentially redesignate our primary voting representative to replace Mr. Hale due to his retirement. And really that just allows us to participate in any voting related to MWIC's course of business.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I take it that we will replace Michael Hale's name with your name. And the proposal is to leave Mr. Ruffolo and Maria Lemieux as our alternates. Is that the plan?
Yes, that would be the recommendation. And just as a side bit of information, my hope would be if we do that today, Wednesday, MWIC's holding their not annual meeting, but regular meeting to also look at replacing Mr. Hale on the MWIC Board of Directors. And as I think, as everyone certainly knows, Shrewsbury's had a leadership role in MWEC for a long, long time. And so my hope would also be to throw my name in the hat as a candidate there to keep the SELCO tradition going. So through this change, we could then also hopefully have that same succession planning on the MWEC side on Wednesday.
Okay, can we have a proposal then to accept initial for the MWEC designated voting representatives?
So moved.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, Mr. Trippy, second. Roll call on that. Mike Rafolo,
Yes.
Tony Trippy,
Yes.
Maria Lemieux,
Yes.
Kelly Marshall,
Yes.
and Bob Holland, yes. Okay, the next agenda item 6, is the tentative commissioning meeting calendar, which is always a popular decision because it's you can bet that on a 50-50 count that somehow those dates will somehow get changed in the out years, but or in the out months. But looking at what we've got right now, does anybody get any inputs as to any changes that need to be made in that calendar?
I have a couple of conflicts.
Uh-oh.
Well, I try to schedule my other meetings around, but the meetings are kind of all over the place.
Sure.
Monday, we have Monday the 25th, but I believe Monday is November 23rd. I have a conflict that day.
Okay.
I also have a conflict. So then going down to March, it says March 23rd, but it says Monday. So are we scheduling that meeting for Monday or Tuesday? If it's Monday the 22nd, then yes, I have a conflict. And then the last one would be, it says Tuesday, May 24th, but is the meeting scheduled for Tuesday, May 25th? Because if it's Monday, May 24th, then I have a conflict with that date.
Okay, so it looks like if we make it Tuesday, May 25th, and Tuesday, you said February or March 24th?
March 20th, Tuesday, March 23rd works.
Yeah, okay, so Tuesday does, but so we change Monday to Tuesday, and then
And leave
on
it the 23rd.
23rd, and then on the Tuesday in May, that has to be the 25th. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Yeah, the Tuesday in May would have to be the 25th.
Okay, and that would work. And then,
Yep.
so those two would be resolved if we did that. And
Yep.
then, and the third one that you said was, you caught us on the
No.
Monday that, November the 25th, which should be November the 23rd, and you have a conflict on that day.
Correct.
If we, would you also have a conflict, or would anybody else have a conflict if we did it on Tuesday, the 24th?
I don't have a conflict, but that's the week of Thanksgiving. So I don't know if anybody else is traveling.
Well,
I don't know during COVID if anybody gets to travel
I'm
anymore.
just gonna
but-
say, yeah. Okay, so, as revised, it does, first off, I'll ask board members, does anybody else have any conflicts? Michael?
No conflict.
Okay, Tony?
No, I don't.
Okay, Maria, we've heard yours. Kelly?
No.
Okay, and Bob Holland. I have no problem then with accepting the SELCO Commission master calendar if we make it the changes to the proposed calendar to Tuesday, November 24th, and the change on would be the 23rd would be a Tuesday, March 23rd. Is that the question that we had on that?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and then the third one was going to be on Tuesday,
May 25th.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept those with those changes?
So moved. Tony Trippy.
Tony Trippy, okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mike Ruffolo, okay. Doing a roll call vote. Michael?
Yeah.
Michael, okay, yes. Tony? Tony,
Yes.
okay. Maria?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Kelly? Yep, Kelly?
Yes.
And Bob Holland, yes. Okay, so the calendar as changed is approved, a tentative master calendar for 2020 and 2021. Now,
Can I just ask if Kathy Reba can send us calendar entries now so we can get all those dates on our calendars now? That would be very helpful for me at least.
Okay, Kelly's on. Kathy, you're online. Did you take that for action, please?
Yes, I shall.
Thank you so much.
Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item is item 7. It's electric cash statements. And Mr. Quidamo, I believe you're up.
I am here. All right. The electric cash statements for the period ended August 31st, 2020. I'll give you a quick overview. I did catch a correction that I'll let you know about too. But year to date, SELCO electric cash receipts totaled $23,954,280. That is 7.4% lower than last year and 2.7% less than the budgeted projection. Mostly regarding miscellaneous cash receipts, which were pretty high last year with a $1.4 million reimbursement from MWIC for the Centec generator. When budgeting the 2020, we eliminate extraordinary items like that and then spread the rest evenly throughout the year. As of August, that spread even is about $145,000 per month, and we haven't really come close to that in miscellaneous receipts this year. They're kind of a hard one to catch, but that's the logic behind arriving at a number. Cash expenditures, total cash expenditures of about 22 million, or 14% less than 2019, and 12% less than budget. Purchase power had a lot to do with that. It was about 14% less than last year, and here's where the correction comes in, and 5% less than forecast. A lot having to do with a milder winter and also fuel costs being pretty down during the whole time. Let's see, capital expenditures to date have only totaled 982,000. The expenses for the AMI project, with a little slowed by pandemic, if you will, had only 59,000 expended through August. That leaves available funds on August 31, totaling 17.6 million, and that balance is 29% greater than the 2019 balance and 16% more than projected.
Okay, do any board members have, I'll do a roll call to see if anybody has any questions. Michael?
No questions.
Tony?
No, just one thing you said, 5% less than,
That's-
and you got written down more than 4.
Yes, I did, yeah. And I caught myself verbally there, but
So is it
you
more
may-
or less?
it is less.
Okay, so she change it on the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Okay. No other questions.
Maria?
No questions.
Okay, and Kelly?
No question.
Okay, no questions. And I have no questions. Do we have a motion to accept the electric cash statements as presented?
I move we accept the electric cash statements as presented.
Okay, Tony? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Maria? Okay,
Yep.
a roll call to accept. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yep.
And Bob, yes. Okay, we'll move on to the next electric financial statements. Mr. Quidamo, you're up again.
Okay. We're taking a look at the electric financial statements through the second quarter of 2020. The kilowatt hour sales through June were even with budget projections and 1.8% less than 2019. Revenue billed for the same period is even with both budget and last year. Operating expenses, total operating expenses through the second quarter were 12.6% less than both 2019 and projection. A lot of this has to do with a very low power cost, and a lot of that has to do with, again, a mild winter and low fuel costs during that time. And that provided a pretty significant amount of collecting in the revenue side of things because the power costs were low. You will notice on the monthly side of things, we made a correction in June between, it was a reclassification between power costs and customer sales expense. And that was, that is showing it as a very high number, a $3 million number in purchase power in the month of June, but that is strictly journal entry there. So that's it, and that even things out on both sides of the expense accounting. Other income and deductions, $6,000 less than 2019 and $6,000 more than projected. It leaves us with net income, including depreciation expense, of about 1.2 million. SELCO Electric experienced income of about 2.4 million through June, and that can be compared to income of 955,000 for the same period in 2019, and budgeted net income of 880,000. So even with our rates being very, very low, as we all know, the fact that we were over collected is at least worth a look to see how much we were. And given that I don't see, big rise in fuel costs real soon, that it might mean a rate reduction is in the offing. Working on numbers this week, and probably can have something for you for the next meeting about where we sit and what kind of movement we can bring to the customer rates.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Roll call for any questions from the commissioners. Michael?
No comments.
Tony?
No comment.
Maria?
No comment.
Kelly?
No comment.
And none from me. Do we have a motion to accept the electric financial statements as presented?
So moved.
I move we second that.
Okay, we have Michael and Tony. Roll call vote to accept. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And Bob is yes. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9. Back to you, Mr. Quidadamo, for cable cash statements.
Okay. Before you have the cable cash statements for the period ended August 31, 2020. Year-to-date cable cash receipts of 14.6 mil are about a percentage point more than 2019, and even with our forecast. Going on to the expenditure side, overall cash expenditures of 11.5 million were 2% greater than last year and 14% less than budgeted. Much work has been done splitting nodes to keep SELCO broadband from being overstressed during the COVID-19 shutdowns. So that has a lot to do with the salary bump, if you will, during that time. When we're talking other plant investment through the month, approximately $293,000 were spent on ISP and digital inventory upgrades. That leaves us on August 31st with available funds of $29.5 million. And that balance is about 18% better than 2019 and 7% ahead of forecast.
Very well, thank you. Through the board, any questions? Michael?
No.
Tony? Nothing heard, Tony.
No.
Maria?
Oh,
No, okay. Maria?
No.
Okay, and Kelly?
Nope.
Okay, and I have none. Motion to accept the cable cash statements as presented.
so moved.
Tony
Second.
and Michael. Okay, we'll roll call vote to accept the cash statements for cable. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And Bob is yes. Moving on to item number 10, cable financial statements. Again, Mr. Quattadamo.
Okay. These statements reflect the numbers through the second quarter ended June 30, 2020. Total revenues through June are running 3.6% less than budget and a point behind 2019. Year to date, SELCO has dropped, or through June, SELCO has dropped 280 video subscribers. Overall, operating expenses for the same period, about 6% or $495,000 less than budgeted, and 5% and $359,000 below 2019. Addressing net income through the second quarter, that net income was 2.7 million at the end of June, and that is $180,000 greater than net income from 2019 and about 3 points ahead of forecasted year-to-date income of 2.6 mil.
Okay, thank you. Going through the board, any questions? Michael?
No questions.
Tony?
Yeah, the subscribers now, that 280, it says the revenue is 5% less. How many subscribers? Is that something that is kind of according to your budget? You're expecting to lose that many, or is it more than you expected?
Let's see, we have a graph of the subscribers. I just catch it for you. I think we're either right on, because we have been predicting a drop off every year for some time now, because we've had to raise rates pretty much 7% every year, and there is, that does cause people to cut the cord, if you will. They are keeping our internet, but let's see.
Well, we know it's the trend. I just wondering if it was.
Yeah,
my understanding wasn't a rate raise. It was that the cord cutting is due to the increased use of streaming online and in a sense, the competition that's outside of SELCO. So I think there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, you can hang it on that if you want, but a lot of people does your bill being higher every year leave you to do that or make those kind of decisions? Probably a handshake with that.
Did you get any feedback from the customers when they bring the stuff back?
I'll give that to Jackie.
Yeah, so it's definitely a combination of cost and other technologies available, right? There are so many different streaming options now at a variety of different packaging and price points that when you look at the traditional cable bundle, if you're not married to your TV in the way that people have been traditionally, these other streaming options, are way more portable. They offer way more options. You can customize packages down to just the channels you want, which really isn't the model of the cable bundle. And the pricing definitely is what we receive feedback on. It's expensive and there are other options is generally what they're saying when they're cutting the cord. So, to us, we work really hard to try and keep the rates down, and we certainly fight for the best pricing we have. Programming negotiations that we get into, But it's an industry trend across the board. It's not solely seen here at SELCO. So.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
Okay. Maria?
No questions.
Kelly,
Yep.
you're all set on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, and I'm good too. Okay, so roll call vote, do we have vote to approve the cable financial statements as presented? Michael,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes,
Maria,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and Bob Holland, yes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Quadanamo, for working your way through it. Okay,
you,
next
Mike.
on the agenda and on the firing line is Mr. Ralph Iacarino with the annual electric outage report.
The squirrel report.
The squirrel report, yeah. How many squirrels committed suicide?
Yeah, this year actually was, squirrels was not the number one cause of outages for 2019.
It's a good thing.
It was limb and tree contact.
Right.
I prepared this with the expectation that I think it's self-explanatory. We had, well, just about the same number of outages as the average over the last 5 years. The Katie, which is the measure of the duration of an outage, if you experience an outage, was a little greater than what we usually see. And that is a result of some challenging outages that caused more restoration time. The other number that most people like to look at is called the SAFE, which is the average number of outages per customer, and that was significantly less for 2019 than the previous 5 years. So that means we had less outages, but the ones we had, or the people that were affected, were out for longer time than we normally see. So the average outage restoration time was 86 minutes in 2019. I'm not sure if you have this copy in front of you, but on the second page of it, I take a look at what were the major outages. And the outage that affected the greatest number of customers, September 23rd, 2019, was a result of a gas leak on Commons Drive. The fire department ordered the power disconnected, and that affected 618 customers for 30 minutes. The outage that affected customers for the longest duration occurred on February 25th during high winds that caused a tree limb to contact the high voltage wires, resulting in a circuit to trip open. That affected 221 customers for 101 minutes, a little over an hour and a half. Then I also take a look at the circuit that has the most number of outages, and that was one of our circuits that comes out of Centec, the new substation. And the reason for that is it's one of the longest in length, so it affects, and there's a lot of customers on it. And we're looking at shortening up, because one way you can reduce the number of outage minutes is reducing the number of customers that are affected by any single outage. And that circuit had 8 outages caused by animals, mostly squirrels. 40 customers were affected for 40 minutes. There was a faulty connection, only affected 1 customer for 53 minutes. 3 outages were caused by limb contact, and that affected 135 customers for 112 minutes. And that on that circuit, 2 outages were caused by vehicles, and that affected 8 customers for 64 minutes. Like I said, this year, usually it is mostly animal related that causes the greatest number of outages, not always impacting the greatest number of customers. But in 2019, there was a decrease in animal related outages, but an increase in tree contact outages. So we'll review that, and we have the tree trimming crew in and trimming those areas that we had the highest incidences of limb or tree contact caused outages. So if you have any questions, I can, open to any questions on the outage report.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Ralph. Hey, one of the things to note, don't we use are we better than most of the commercial utilities in that the transmission lines or cables that we're actually using are a little bit stronger, or we use a higher quality that even when the trees do fall on the lines, we don't snap as many. So even though we've got to cut the tree off, we can restore a little bit faster.
Well,
is that true?
In some parts of the town, and there are, we use what's called a spacer cable. And it has a very high strength messenger cable that the wire is attached to. And usually it can withstand, a large tree, or actually if a vehicle hits a pole, you can take out a pole, but you can lose one pole and still maintain that spacer cable. Some of the investor owns use, and some other utilities use a open wire, which if you lose a pole, everything's going to come down. Some of them are going to the spacer cable because it is becoming less expensive to install, and the equipment, the material is becoming less expensive than the open wire, and you do have a little bit more reliability. I think that one of the things that is in our favor is we do have an extensive tree trimming program, and we do look at outages and the cause of them, and we try to chase what's affecting the greatest number of people for the most time. You may have a lot of outages, but they might not affect a lot of people for a long duration.
Yeah.
So,
great. Thanks, Rob. I know most recently in the last couple of months, we've had a few folks who, whether they're speeding or just lost control of their cars, I think on South Street, 2 utility poles got sheared off at the base, and nobody lost power that I'm aware of, unless somebody can correct me on that. But the wires remained in place, and our crews were able to get out there and replace the utility poles almost, within just a few hours. So well done to the crews for doing that, and the way the system is engineered. Thanks a lot. Any other comments or questions? I'll start with Mike.
No comments. Thanks for the report.
Okay, Tony.
No comments. Thank you.
Maria.
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, and Kelly.
I'm good. No comments.
Okay, thanks. And I've already said my piece. Great. Do we have let's just make a motion to, I'll make a motion to accept the annual electric outage report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Trippy, we'll go roll call vote to accept the annual electric outage report. Michael.
Accept.
Tony.
Yes.
Maria.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yep.
And Bob. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Energy Efficiency Day of October 2020. Chris, do you want to handle that, or is Jackie going to handle that?
I'm happy to pass the baton to Jackie for this.
Great. Come on down, Jackie.
Hi. So Energy Efficiency Day is October 7th, and the Board of Selectmen, at our suggestion, has officially proclaimed October 7th Energy Efficiency Day here in Shrewsbury. It's a pretty straightforward message with their program. It's save energy, save money, cut pollution, create jobs. Energy efficiency overall is a core function of what we promote to our customers throughout the year through a variety of different programs, both on the commercial and residential side. Makes a lot of sense for us to be in support of this program and make our own statement. The American Public Power Association has signed on utilities in different areas of the country, as well as municipalities and other energy efficiency organizations. Seems right in alignment with what SELCO has set for goals, and seems like a really good way to kick off October. It happens to fall during Public Power Week as well, so there's that.
I have a question. Jackie, could you tell us what you have in mind? I didn't see Selco's name I may be wrong, but I didn't see Selco's name anywhere in what the selectmen passed. And I was wondering, what is our participation? How are we involved, and what's our game plan?
Yeah, so the town of Shrewsbury proclaimed October 7th as Energy Efficiency Day, and they used the proclamation that energyefficiencyday.org actually suggests for communities. So it doesn't specifically call out Selco by name, but having the commission make a statement also in support of it, shows obviously that there's a unified front, that the selectmen and Selco as the utility are all in favor of promoting energy efficiency on October 7th. And like I said, throughout the year through a variety of different programs. Generally what the campaign is for Energy Efficiency Day is really to promote energy efficiency on October 7th, typically through social media posts. As I said, it does fall in the midst of Public Power Week, so it's a nice way to highlight yet just one more benefit of having a public power utility here in Shrewsbury. The town of Shrewsbury, having already passed proclamation, I've had their name added to the list of supporters. Once you folks make the statement tonight, if you will, which I hope you will, we'll get our SELCO added to that list of supporters as well for the 2020 day. Does that answer your question, or did you have others?
No, I think I understand better.
Okay, so Jackie, my understanding is that what you're looking for really is for the SELCO board to agree that we want to also recognize Energy Efficiency Day on October 7th, and we'll support it via our Public Power Week with our proclamations for the week rather than even just the day.
Yes, absolutely. So throughout Public Power Week, we're going to be posting information about public power, and specifically SELCO, and how public power utilities benefit the communities that they serve. And Energy Efficiency Day taking place during Public Power Week seems like a great way to mesh into the energy efficiency message. So it goes really overall with the promotion that we'll be doing.
Okay. So then I'll make a motion that we as the board agree that we recognize Energy Efficiency Day as well on October 7th in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen, and additionally that we will support it through our Public Power Week initiatives. Do you have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Tony and Michael, any other comments from the board members, Maria or Kelly? If not,
No comments.
No.
Okay, do a roll call vote to approve that. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yep.
And Bob, yes. Okay, the next one is a certificate of acceptance for 2 parcels of land which the town meeting approved us to procure, and the paperwork has flown through, and I think Christopher, Chris Roy, you have the lead on this one, so please lead.
Thank you, sir. So this one, as we try and wrap up the land acquisition, this is the final step to formally accept the parcel into Shrewsbury jurisdiction. So this was produced by town council as the format to indicate our formal acceptance through the commission. And then similar to the closing process, which is separate from here to lead up to this point, it does require ink signatures from everyone. So there is that added caveat of coordinating, leaving this document with the town clerk, and then coordinating everyone's schedule to come in and sign should be accepted at tonight at this meeting.
Yeah, I'll add on that if the board members have taken a look at it, that it means that we have to go and make an appointment with the town clerk. Basically, you can call in and do that. Sandra Wright and her staff, probably sooner than later would be better, because we have town meeting next Tuesday, which will take a little bit of their time. But then they'll be getting ready for the early voting mail outs and whatnot. So if we can approve this tonight and get the paperwork, once we hear from Sandra and probably Kathy working with her that they're available, we should roll in one at a time to sign this and get it formalized. These are the 2 parcels of land down on Route 9 across from the Worcester City Motel that we procured. Okay, with that said, I think what we really need to do is just have I don't think we need to approve it. What we really need to do is vote that we're all to accept the parcels again, and that we're going to make an agreement that we're going to go in and sign the paperwork. I think that's the biggest issue, that we all acknowledge that that's what we need to do. Okay, is that the answer? Michael, is that your understanding? That you need to go in and sign? I'm just going to go down the line.
It's my understanding. That's what you told me, so I assume so.
Okay, great.
Yes, I'm happy to sign.
Okay, great. And Tony, you understand that we will need to go up and once we give you notification that it's at the town clerk's office, that you'll go to sign.
Yes, I noticed in the paper, it showed 3 transactions under the real estate transfers. Why was that?
Yeah,
Maybe they
there's two.
split one of the parcels or something. I don't
Mhm.
understand that.
Yeah, there were two different companies that we bought the parcels from, so that
Right.
they may have had a split deed on one of them.
Okay.
Okay, Maria, do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
Will there
Kelly?
be
Oh, sorry.
an email coming out? Notification that it's available?
I'll have Kathy work with us on that one, so we know that Sandra's, got that. Sandra Wright the town clerk has that paperwork in hand.
Okay, thanks.
And Kelly, same? You understand?
Same for me.
Okay, thank you. And I understand. Okay, with that said, the part we've all been waiting for is the operations brief. And I'll turn that over to the new general manager of SELCO, Christopher Roy. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Just bring up the document here. So I figured I would start by jumping right into the general manager section of the operating brief and just kind of work down the list in order. Certainly, absolutely open to suggestions and comments of additional detail or less detail are welcome. So a couple of things I wanted to highlight on the power supply front. One of the things, and it is somewhat just as a foreshadowing of more detail to come, but we're pursuing a new hydro opportunity that I think is, at least in my view, is that ideal balance between helping us achieve our portion of climate targets, being largely driven by the state and others. Certainly, there's a variety of policies out there, and so the hydro in particular is unique, where it has that renewable attribute along with the fact that it has base load power, so you don't have the variability of solar and wind. And so, and then you throw on a very attractive price, and it makes a really good opportunity for us to pursue. So that, because the details are public, I just wanted to mention that. And one of the things that perhaps would be, I think, a good topic of discussion in the future is our view on hydro. I think, again, as you maybe perhaps can glean from that paragraph, I think hydro is a pretty good asset to incorporate into the portfolio. And so, a few of those are up for exploration on our part. So this one, has more detail to come. Similar to that, for the Berkshire Wind project, we've opted to retain our quarter 2 RECs in our portfolio, our GIS portfolio, if you will. And so really what that means is we didn't opt to sell them in the REC market today. So that allows us the flexibility to have a future discussion on really 3 potential approaches to treatment of those RECs. A being the first one being sell and use that REC revenue to offset the price, but again, you're selling off that environmental attribute. The other alternative would be retire. So then the energy price is what it is, and then we get to claim that environmental attribute. Or the third, which is somewhat of a hybrid model, where you leverage a higher priced REC to procure a lower priced REC. So there's a variety of strategies that could be pursued there for, I think, perhaps a future meeting where we can look at the different REC classes and our approach to balancing out the REC attributes with the cost of each classification. So at least for right now, rather than just sell in this current market, we retain them in our in our GIS portfolio for future decision. And then I guess the one thing I wanted to add there as well is as we enter budget season, we can then incorporate the market pricing into our budgeting to see how that could impact our financials in 2021. Moving to cable services, one of the big events of the last really month, really September, was the C-band transition. And so I apologize, I'm not sure how much C-band has been discussed in the past. I just maybe we'll go through a high-level summary, but essentially the FCC has decided that, well, I'll take one more step back. As everyone knows, perhaps that, you know, a large portion of our cable programming content for TV is delivered to SELCO via satellite. And so the C-band is the FCC's initiative to sell off a portion of the frequencies associated with that satellite transmission in hopes to use that for 5G. And so that now is forcing all cable providers across the country to decide, well, what do they do, with that C-band, if you will, that is now being sold off to 5G. And so you have a lot, and so that's where the lump sum comes in. And so there's a formula to calculate really what the value of our portion of the C-band is, and that's where that 250,000 comes from. And the intent behind that is to give cable providers funding to transition to a couple of other alternatives to what we do today. So we filed that paperwork. The FCC set a deadline of the 14th, and so we complied with that deadline, and we are hoping for somewhere around 250,000, but that is to be determined based on valuations set by the government. And then in a similar fashion, I thought bullet point number 2 was quite exciting, where the city of Worcester reached out to us just because as we all are experiencing remote work challenges and remote schooling challenges, they are having difficulties with their incumbent broadband provider. And so they're exploring any and all options to help reach the portions of their city that are just really having difficulty getting a response from their incumbent. And so we had a really productive meeting. I think it really opened their eyes to our business model and a lot of the SELCO achievements. And so, that's a long road ahead for them. But I just think, sentiments like that are a tip of the hat to really what Shrewsbury has accomplished over all these years and the team that we have here. So that was a really productive meeting. And they reached out to me for some follow-up information, which is always a good sign. And so we provided that to them. And then the other section here, we're just at 2 months and a day today. And so we've had in that time, we've had some organizational changes. The very first one was the departure of John Covey, the SELCO in town CIO. And so one of the things that I thought was paramount for my early days and weeks was to really, evaluate the position, look at what the succession plan would be, and really, incorporate that as my, as part of my process to get to know people and see what they needed from me and what, and it was kind of nice to have the context of IT needs, which everyone has some kind of technology needs. So it was kind of a common ground to start from. And so as was announced earlier, we really, wasn't major modifications. We made some slight modifications, nothing major to be noteworthy for a gathering like this, I would say. But the biggest one was the change in title from CIO to Director of IT. That comes, from a variety of different feedback and recommendations from folks. And what's really nice, especially is that it kind of unifies the director role is consistent between, you know, municipal utilities, town entities, private sector. And so really it starts to make it easier to, in schools, I incorporate that in there as well. So it's a nice unified title that is all encompassing of what we're asking that position to do. And the biggest, most exciting component of that is the fact that we were able to appoint Greg Honorato, our own head end manager, to take that role. You know, one of the things that was abundantly clear to me was how much overlap and assistance that everyone is willing to give each other. And so I thought it was a really compelling, you know, move to make, where, you know, he has, you know, through his SELCO tenure with the schools, you know, really built up a lot of relationships, knowledge of the system, where there really, you know, was, you know, minimal transition needed, you know, aside from getting acquainted, which, you know, he alluded to earlier, but it's really been, I think, a really good move, and we're excited to have him make that change. And so that creates that cascading effect where now his role, the head end manager role, is up for evaluation of what our needs are moving forward. And so we're fortunate to have Joel in that position, where he has that background to take the reins over that, while we do an in-depth, you know, study into what that role should be. You know, perhaps status quo, perhaps not. So, you know, we want to at least take a look and capitalize on the transitional opportunity to take a look at it. And then the other one, this one's a great one too. So September, SELCO electric line worker Bob LaValle retired after nearly 34 years. In the email that Ralph had sent, it was 33.8, but I figured we would round that just for appearance in the memo to nearly 34, but it's 33.8. So that's a major achievement on his part. He's been a major contributor to SELCO, again, which is really neat. Just as an aside, you know, getting to learn more about the organization and the people, it's really becomes pretty clear about the you know, the great things folks have done and their contributions. And so Bob retires with an immense amount of knowledge and experience, and so, you know, we'll miss that. But on the same token, we were able to conduct interviews internally, and then again, it just we have quite the depth chart, as I put in there. It's you know, so we're in a uniquely good position where the successors are you know, highly skilled and talented as well, and so we're pleased that we were able to promote Brian Keeley to that position effective the 17th. So that was some excitement there, and so congratulations to both of those individuals, both for a retirement as well as a promotion. And then the last component I just wanted to highlight is two common themes that just kind of risen to the surface over the last 2 months. So can largely be categorized as procurement and HR. There are other, you know, more detailed portions of those job descriptions that get incorporated there. But this fiber project, you know, we're really trying to maintain an aggressive pace, especially in light of the bandwidth challenges that we're all familiar with, and the new normal, you know, has really ratcheted up that need for increased bandwidth. And so that aggressive fiber deployment schedule comes with provides a good test, I guess, if you will, for how robust our procurement procedures and processes are. And so really what it highlights is, you know, the need to kind of bolster that a little bit, get, you know, as folks may be familiar with, as an MC PPO designation that, municipal organizations typically have one or perhaps one and a backup to be designated by the state as a certified public procurement officer. And so, you know, having that person keep up to date with with changes in law, procurement standards that happen from time to time, and implement procedures that are unified across the board, I think would do us well. And then similar, just to touch on the HR side, it's been one of my perspectives for a while that, in the utility sector, yes, we manage a tremendous amount of infrastructure, but second to that, but not in terms of importance, but just second to perhaps dollar value, is the human capital. And so we have we're in an unprecedented time of utility change, which puts pressure on, well, obviously retirements, as we highlighted above, but organizational changes as well, cultural changes, changes to business systems and technology, and all of that puts an emphasis on the need to manage the folks that are keeping the train running. And so that adds an element to that HR role, and a portion of that is getting into the technical side a little bit, or weeds, if you will, is management of goal setting, management of a more robust, if you will, metric process, performance and goal setting process. So that that is a highlight there to manage. And recruiting, recruiting is a big one, where it's a difficult recruiting environment in the utility sector, with a huge percentage of the workforce ready to retire at any time across the industry. And so it just adds that level of ability to get your name out there and get the top talent before someone else does. And so that focus is there. So that's probably the largest key points to mention. There are other more administrative tasks which I could happily go into, but I would, in the interest of time, just set those aside at the moment. And then I put a snippet in there for legislative, just as a feather in the cap to SELCO and public power in general. I think it's good to remind folks about what else is out there. And so I wasn't intending to spend a lot of time on this legislative side, but I'm happy, there's a lot of other articles and information, that are behind that summary. But really, the recent events that we've seen in Massachusetts with some of the storms, but also certainly Columbia Gas, combined with what's happening in Maine and Connecticut, really, I think it's just something to keep our eye on. And SELCO, as a leader in the public power space and the business model we demonstrate, is something that I think it's worthwhile for us to keep our eyes on. So that covers the general update, and then I think I'd be happy to pause there and answer any questions.
Well, I appreciate what you've presented so far. I know I'm looking ahead, and I'm just figuring out what some of the items that you had on some of the other paperwork you put in. I'm interested specifically, and maybe Joelle can help us on this one, is on all the splitting, the node splitting that we're doing. We talked about internet, earlier, about making sure that all the schools, with people working at home and everything, and we were trying to meet that demand while we're also installing the fiber. But I know that there's a note there about node splitting round 2. Can we address a little bit of that? I'm not sure. Chris, do you want to do it, or Joelle, or Joelle? Tag you
I
in.
can jump. Yeah, I can jump in. All right. So yes, this is anticipating that we're gonna need more bandwidth or more internet capacity before winter of 2021, basically. So we're starting tonight. We are gonna be cutting 2 areas, which is they are labeled as node 34, which is currently located Gulf and Wheelock. It's around that area, and we're also going to be doing node 52. I believe it's also in the calendar, which is Yorkshire. We have also selected node 6 which is Lake and Ferncroft. And we have also selected Note 19, which is Shrewsbury Green. Note 29, that is Cherry and Rockwell. And we have also had in the schedule Note 25, which is located at Edgemere and Route 20. So the goal is that we're going to be able to upgrade about 12 nodes in the upcoming month and a half. We're hoping to be all completed by the end of October. Jackie has already sent the robocalls to all the customers that are going to be affected during the maintenance window, and it's supposed, we're hoping that the outage is going to happen between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
Any questions?
I would imagine that tomorrow on the social websites we'll be able to find out how it all worked.
That's correct.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm not trying to delete anything else that you wanted to say tonight, Christopher. Is there anything that's in your report later on that you want to make sure you highlighted, or do we want to just open it up for the commission to ask questions specifically?
No, I think there's so much content there. I thought maybe perhaps Q&A might be the best approach to hit the most pressing topics, I guess.
Oh, just a couple of other things that I had was one, you made mention of the fact that we've put fiber to St. John's. Are we putting fiber to our own school, our own public schools as well, or is there a specific need that St. John's had over anybody else?
Yes. Yep. I confirmed with the team here. We do have fiber to all the Shrewsbury schools. And we do serve as their ISP. Currently, and certainly I could defer to Joel for this, but my understanding is St. John's is taking a fiber service from us, but I'm not sure they're going to the same extent of the ISP service as we do for the schools.
Joel, you want to comment?
Sure. They are adding more capacity to their, I believe they're installing a new locker room by their fields. So that's where the fiber we're building is going to be terminated.
Okay, so we're just providing the service, but not the ISP side of the house.
No. We are also providing the ISP to the school. Yeah.
Okay.
As part of the new deal with them, we were able to. Jackie's team was able to upgrade them to, I believe, a gigabit of service.
Okay. And then the other one that I had of interest is, I know that there's a big issue going on. Matter of fact, we have a special town meeting next week on the police department building, and it looks like we're doing a lot to just help them, because even their infrastructure over there, their email servers, and also the communication side of the house. I noticed that your name has been involved in that. Do you want to give us a background on what we're trying to do to help on the police side of the equation?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an exciting project. Our primary role would be to support the radio upgrade. They, as was, I think, vetted in detail through the finance committee meeting, there is a I guess a immediate need, would be the right phrase, for a radio system across town. And so our role, there's a lot of benefits to a unified system for communications, emergency preparedness, and the list goes on. And so our role would be to certainly support through the IT side, where a lot of that is, or actually I should say all of that is fiber-based. And then now everything's moving to IP-based communication mechanisms. So again, everything is migrating to some kind of technology-driven mechanism that requires servers and cybersecurity and resiliency measures. And so that was, our role on an ongoing basis would be support of those, types of needs. And then in the more limited term would be, the upgrade for the individual radios and towers and repeaters and whatnot, and that would be part of the 2021 budgeting discussions.
Great. And I guess with one final thing, just the market basket effort down there, can we talk about how that's coming along? I know a lot of people are interested in finding out whether or not there's actual progress down there or not. I know there's a lot of detours and a lot of digging and filling going on.
Sure, I can pass the baton. I think either Honiton or John could chime in there for their day-to-day experiences with that project.
John Laverty?
Yeah, we had a couple on-site meetings with them. Hopefully, they're going to start clearing the lot. They've cleared the lot environmentally, and now they're going to start clearing the lot probably by the end of October, beginning of November. They're very excited, trying to move forward with the project.
Okay, Jonathan, anything to add?
Yeah, as part of this project, Edgemere Crossing is working with Mass DOT. So Route 20 is it's going to happen too, between Edgemere and all the way to Puritan Drive. We're going to have to change a few poles, but it's all part of the same project. It's side by side, and they're expecting by November of 2021 to have everything up and running.
Great. Well, I've asked enough questions. I'm going to make a round of the board and see if anybody else has anything they'd like to ask about the operations brief. Michael, any questions?
Yeah, my question had to do with fiber to the home. I saw the 3 phases and the 3 different geographic regions, and I didn't quite understand how the rollout would happen. Is it going to roll there? Is it that you're setting up the infrastructure region by region, and then, in a sense, 5 years from now, folks get fiber to the home, or is that a potential revenue generator earlier than that as you complete each region?
Sure.
Christopher?
I can.
Yep.
All right, I'll take that. So it would be your second version. So the plan is, as we roll out the phases of right away being roadways, then the individual fiber connections from the road to the home being part B, and then C being the customer premise. That would happen simultaneously. So as we complete one area, we would bring that up to full marketability while we continue to build out the other areas. And so the engineering design was done in such a way to address the highest areas of need first. And so it would be our intent to bring those areas onto the fiber system sooner rather than later. And so the idea is to roll that out on an ongoing basis.
Okay, and just as a follow-up, I think something like the Northeast or the North was the first region. Is that on track, and how are we coming up with pricing and product modeling for that?
Sure. So scheduling is on track. We have broken down each phase into a number of not sub bids, that's not the right phrase, but smaller bids that span not necessarily. So if I may take a step back, there's a couple of approaches. One would be to bid out, as everyone knows, bid out the whole town at once, and you award it to one company or firm to do it soup to nuts. The approach we've taken is we've broken down each phase into further smaller segments based on node. And so those smaller nodes then allow us to issue bids to more contractors and make it available to also maybe smaller firms out there. And so I guess to your first question, it is on track. And then it's each bid where we have to evaluate as we speak. So 1A has been awarded and was tracking favorably with our budget estimates generated by the CTC report. And then B, and then these other phases, these other bids, I should say, are available for evaluation to see how that goes. And if those bids, again, that's somewhat of the challenges. It's it's a cascading effect, which is what we're working on to manage currently, which is if, as long as we keep each bid going as we had planned, then we'll stay on track. And so one of the things we're evaluating is, do we gradually, as we grow more comfort with the contractors we're hiring early, then can we issue larger bids, because now we've built up that experience with their quality of work. And then there's less opportunity for us to get derailed by a potential smaller bid of a couple of nodes that might come out with a bidding process that for whatever reason, comes up atypical.
But what is it that we're offering to the, let's say, the commercial customers or to the residences as far as fiber to home? Is it a different product, or is it increased pricing? Will pricing be different among different areas of town based on whether they have fiber to the home or not? Or is it just an increased speed?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Jackie, there you go.
Sure. So initially, we do have a couple of fiber areas that have been built out as part of our test that was done by Joel's staff late last year, early this year. And with the start of the pandemic, we found a need to start turning some of those customers over to fiber. We don't have wide rollout at this time, but for customers who have fiber availability, what we've done is we've kind of kept our existing download speeds and moved to a symmetrical upload speed, and we're calling those plus packages. So right now we have silver, gold, and platinum. You'll also see silver plus, gold plus, and platinum plus. So when you go back to the operating brief, you can see the plus numbers starting to increase. These initial packages are just in the early phases of rollout now, and they're $10 more than the non-plus packages. Again, the upload speeds are going to be symmetrical. The download speeds are the same. So they're matching your silver, gold, and platinum, but they're symmetrical. As we start to get further into the project, we'll be evaluating the proper packaging to put us, favorably compare against other fiber products out there on the market. So you may see those speeds changing.
In the upward direction, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So that's right. So because of the kind of the pressure that our plant was under during the pandemic, we rushed to market basically with these initial packages, which we had been piloting in the Lakeway area anyhow. So further evaluation will be needed.
Thank you. Michael, does that answer your question, or do you have further follow-on?
Yeah, just one more follow-up. Given an increase in revenue, a potential increase in profit, does that offset the need for the bond as this rolls out over time? Or when is it, at what point do we need the funding that we're asking for, I guess, at town meeting?
Great question. So that's one of the strategies that we've been, or at least I've been mulling over recently, especially given the incredibly favorable bond rates that are out there now. And so my understanding, and please correct me if I'm off base, my understanding was somewhat of the idea was to go forward with cash as much as possible and then have the bond funds available to close out the remainder of the project. But one of the things, that I've thought about a little bit is, given the favorable bond ratings and some of the, future planning, if you will, for some of our needs over the next, say, 5 years, one of the thoughts I had was to shift, maybe not fully reverse it, because we've already spent a bit for this year. I think, again, this is an informal conversation we had, but somewhere on the order of $6 million by the close of this year. And so that's just for conversation's sake. And then so we spent that in cash up front. And then I think perhaps it's worthy of consideration to shift then to the bond funds, given the extremely low interest rate. And so then we shift to the bond funds, which have some time limitations for the arbitrage potentially, and just to be mindful of those. So if we put the weight of the project onto the bond funds at attractive rates, then that leaves some cash available for other projects that perhaps aren't worthy of bonding later, and it gives us the flexibility to use our reserves, more dynamically than the restrictions that go along with the bond.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Tony, do you have any questions?
No, I don't at this time.
Okay, Maria?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Kelly?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, well, that's great. Chris, before I cut you off, or we accept your operating brief and go to the final general update, is there anything else that you wanted to potentially exploit out of your operating brief?
No, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Appreciate your report. It was very thorough, and the data that you provided us was excellent. Thank you. And to your staff for the work that's been going on. Do I have a motion to accept the operating brief as presented?
So moved.
Okay, Tony. Second?
A second.
Okay, Michael. Second. Okay, a roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
And Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, and Bob, yes. Okay, the final item on the for the open session is the general update of the COVID-19 emergency operations update in preparation for fall winter surge. Again, Mr. Roy, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much. So this one is just intended to provide just a quick update on some of the operational changes we've made, perhaps since the last report. The biggest change being we've transitioned the service area to a full 7 to 3:30 shift, which was the pre-COVID hours. If you may recall, just as a refresher, we had split to A and B teams that had a 6 a.m. start time and a 7 a.m. start time. And so we've now shifted that to still having A and B teams, but they both report at 7 a.m. And in order to do that, we have had to repurpose some space to make sure we maintain the appropriate social distancing and other preventative measures to keep everyone safe, and stagger lunch times and such. And so one of the things that is on my mind is at least I remember, back when this all began, like, we'll figure out how to get by for a couple weeks. Then a couple weeks turned, well, okay, we'll make it for a couple months. And so now as we enter the fall and the winter and we look at the news for, going on a long time and the potential for a surge, given a variety of factors, including everyone moving indoors, given the weather and temperatures, it's long been my view that we have to protect ourselves as an essential service to make sure we stand ready no matter what. And so we have moved as I said, the operational crews to that 7 to 3:30 schedule with adjustments to the service area. And I guess I wanted to mention, as we look at, how we, sustain, this operating measure over, perhaps all of 2021, we would potentially be looking at other modifications, including, maybe adjusting some of the open space to be, closed office space, if you will, just so we can house people, more privately, I guess, that aren't out in the open. And that way we can, better utilize the space and give people the tools they need to work out of the office. And we've also, before anticipating the surge and just some of the shortages in supplies, we've also, the operational team has done a good job in keeping us, our own stash of safety equipment. And so we've monitored that accordingly. We've even looked at procuring in the near term some of the P100 masks, which seem to be available to industry professionals now. So if we had to, sustain, say, just take the fiber questions, you know, and the need to enter people's homes. If we find ourselves in a surge scenario, you know, where we have essential requirements to enter people's homes, we'll have P100s and Tyvek suits to make sure we are prepared for any scenario. Whether we engage or not would be situational dependent, but at least we'd have the safety equipment to do so. And then the last piece to mention there is, and Greg mentioned the department head meeting, and for the folks in town hall, we haven't discussed it as a group yet, so this might be news to some people, but we're moving into phase 3 at town hall. So in similar fashion, you know, there most folks have offices, so we're already pretty well set there, except for customer service. So Jackie and I are slated to meet tomorrow morning to discuss our approach to that. But you know, we're looking at, you know, how do we operate through the winter in this fashion and make sure we stand ready as SELCO always has.
Thank you, Chris. That was just a general update, and there's no note for that. So I think that pretty well wraps up the open session that we had scheduled for tonight. We will vote to to close this meeting, and and then we'll go into executive session on a separate signal that Kathy Reba will send out to us, and it's only to actually approve the minutes of a previous meeting. So it's more of an administrative need, but it has to be done in executive session. And so we'll go in. So we'll close this meeting. We'll go into executive session, not to return to open session. So with that, do I have a motion to close this open meeting?
So moved.
Michael, got it?
Second that.
Tony, second. Roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Bob? Okay, so at 8:31 p.m. we're closing this open meeting, and not to reconvene in open session. We'll reconvene in executive session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.